Welcome everyone, my name is Roland. The program is called Shedding Shackles. That's how I begin my radio programs, which I've been doing now for almost 30 years. The idea is to shed the shackles of the past and to be free. So today I want to just focus on something that's very simple, and you need to hear it. You need to hear it. Emotions are not human. Emotions are animal. When you respond emotionally, what you're doing is you are reacting to something on the outside. Human beings were created to respond to their Creator. We humans were meant to be like children of God, God's children. And as such, we would look to Him for everything. He is our Creator, our parent spirit. And as you would wander through, as such a person would go through life, a life of adventure, a life of discovery. There's no end to what you can discover in this wonderful world. Science, nature, the universe, biology, and to discover God's relationship with the world and how He made things, and to discover of Him. You see, every discovery that you make, you discover about God's genius, His creativity, His providence, His graciousness, His mercy, His kindness, His justice, His truth, His science. It's just beautiful to discover of Him. You know, I can't think of anything better than to discover Him, of Him. And it would be a wonderful, wonderful journey. But instead, what do? Instead, we react to things on the outside. We react emotionally and hypnotically. Every time you react emotionally, every time you become a little bit excited, a little bit upset, a little bit resentful, a little bit irritated, a little bit nervous, a little bit worried, a little bit sympathetic, a little bit depressed, a little bit something. Every little emotion that you have, or big emotion, lowers your awareness and is hypnotic. And the proof that it's hypnotic is when you get upset, you fall into the dream stream, don't you? You fall into the imagination. When you get a little bit excited about something, or a little bit angry about something, or a little bit resentful about something, or a little worried about something, then you start thinking about it over and over and over again, reliving the past, planning for the future. You fall into that daydream state. When you react to something on the outside, you know, it's very similar to when you see people on the phone. They did a study, and they found in this particular study, I don't know how many studies have found this, but in this particular study, I read about it online. They found that they studied accidents, and they found that distraction, of course, was involved in many of the accidents. We know that. But the interesting thing is they found out that there was that talking on the phone, whether hands-free or not hands-free, talking on the phone was involved in more mishaps than texting. Now we know that texting is not good. We know that. That's a given. But a lot of people talk on the phone, and when they talk on the phone, they're like in a different world. They're not totally there. You've seen people on the phone. They're lost in their conversation. And so that's the way you live your whole life. when the person reacts to that phone and picks and starts to talk, they fall into this mental state where they're not totally there. And that's the way you live your whole life. You basically live your whole life as if you were distracted by a phone conversation. That's how you live your whole life. You don't realize it. Different levels of trance. Sometimes it's mild. Sometimes it's not even detectable. But you are. You're not fully there. But the point I want to get at is that you're not responding to your Creator with awe and wonder at His creation and thinking of Him and marveling at His handiwork and His graciousness and His kindness and His greatness. Instead, you are reacting to what? People, things. See, first it was people. When you were a little kid, your parents yelled at you or screamed at you or threatened you or something. Or there was an emotional scene at home. Your parents were arguing about money. Your mom said, well, if you know, what are we going to do now? There's not going to be enough money for Christmas, and we won't be able to buy presents. And your dad said, well, I can't help it. I can't help it that I got laid off. It's not my fault. Well, we're just at the poverty level. How are we going to make it? So you heard this scene, and as a little child, you were very impressionable. You took it in. You reacted emotionally to the scene. See, and you took in all those negative ideas that they were coming up with. And so that's been your whole life. You went to school and there were bullies and there was tease and there was pressure and there was excitement. And you hung around with other kids and it was very exciting. And you got all caught up with your friends and what they were doing. And you were always caught up with something. Your friends, your peers, some hobby, you're caught up with work. You're caught up with some other woman or some man, or you're caught up with your boyfriend who you resent, or you're caught up with sports or gambling or drugs. And then as you live an improper lifestyle, your health begins to deteriorate, not to mention your finances and relationships and everything else. And then you have plenty of problems, plenty of relationship problems and financial problems and health problems, and you get caught up with them. See? And you're caught up with all these things your whole life, caught up with doctor bills and pills and doctor visits. See? Caught up. There's precious little time to ponder life and to marvel at God's creation. See? So something is wrong. So how are you going to refine the right way to relate to everything? See? So first it's people on the outside upset you, something upsets you, and then things begin to represent or stand in for what upset you. Then eventually you're reacting to things and to ideas, thoughts. The thought stands for it. So now you worry about money or worry about something. And so this worry then is you're reacting to an idea in the mind, an image in the mind that came from the outside. See, it's just like a hypnotist. You know, you can watch on YouTube. There's a lot of good things on YouTube. You can actually watch stage hypnotists. There's one that I often recommend to watch, and his name is Anthony Gailey. And the reason I recommend him is because his presentations are fun and not. He doesn't degrade the people. He doesn't use bad humor. Everything is in good taste because he does it for corporations. So it's in good taste and it's mild, and it's but he has a PhD in psychology, so he takes time to sometimes explain what's going on. So it's like getting a demonstration and a lesson at the same time. But you will see that what the hypnotist does is captures the person's attention, gets them reacting to something on the outside, to their voice, for example. So their attention is captured. Then they start reacting to the person's voice, and then he has them to think of something or imagine something in their mind, and then they begin responding and reacting to it. And then that idea in their mind then becomes the reality. So once a person is hypnotized, the hypnotist can say, well, it's cold. You're basically, you're up in northern Canada and it's very cold. And then when I snap my fingers, you're going to start noticing how cold it is and so on. So he snaps his fingers and the person sitting there in the chair starts shivering and saying, does anybody have an extra jacket for me? It's so cold. See, they're reacting to the idea as if it were reality. But that's the way you live your whole life. You worry about this, and fret about that, and are scared about this, and angry about that, and resentful about this, and see, and all these things, they're all ideas that you basically react to, you see? So now do you see what this emotion thing is? It's animal. And it's not good for humans to have animal emotions because of what state it puts us into. This externalized zombie hypnotic state, and a state where we're not reacting and responding to our Creator. We lose touch with Him and His inner light and His delicate... See, a self-impelled person is always attentive to the delicate promptings of intuition. What you wordlessly know in your heart, what you wordlessly realize, or see. The person who is on the path back to God responds to that. And that is a direct connection to God. You see? So your intuition is your closest link to God. So instead of reacting to people, reacting to ideas, reacting to things, reacting to problems, reacting to situations, you should be responding and attentive to the delicate inner light from God. And when you walk in that light, then you go about your life in a spontaneous way. You don't have to plan every move because you also develop faith, something called faith. Faith that it will give you guidance. And you know that He's smarter than you are. And He knows better what you need than you do. And you know that He will make you to know, or let you know, or give you to know what you need to know. It's that simple. And so you can let go of knowledge, study, just let it go. It doesn't mean that you can't read a book or take a class if it's something useful. It doesn't mean that. But it just means that you won't be looking to it for all of your answers. What a relief. You can let your hair down, just be a regular person. But you know you will have something very special. And the realizations that you will have, you will learn. You can learn more in a lightning flash. What takes civilization hundreds of years to come up with. In a lightning flash, you just see. It's remarkable. So all you have to do is yearn for the inner light. Yearn to return to your Creator. You've had enough with people, haven't you? You've loved them, you've hated them, you can't live with them, you can't live without them. So stop hating people. Stop resenting them. Stop judging them. Then you'll stop being fixated to them. See? And stop thinking that you can help them and do things for them and cure them and make them happy. And you always want to do something to others and you want something in return. You want them to look at you and say how wonderful you are and how great you are and all that. See, just let that all go. When you let it all go, then maybe you can help people sometimes with a word of truth or a little helping hand of some sort. But when you do, it'll be spontaneous and it'll be intuitive and it will be real help, not false help, not emotional, sticky help, not enmeshing help. See, a lot of people run from you because they sense that your love, which is not really love, is emotional and sticky and binding. You're going to let the quest for knowledge go. You can let all this hating people and feeling sorry for them and feeling guilty for resenting them and feeling obligated. You can let all of it go. It'll go of its own. You don't have to do anything. So part of your problem is that you want something from people, and then you resent them when you don't get it. See? So let both go. Let the wanting go and the resenting go. Just go about your business, lighthearted, cheerfully, like a tourist. Like a tourist, just observing things, marveling at everything that you see. And then you are free. It's a progressive freeing. You become freer and freer, freer to ponder life, to thoughtfully search for the meaning of your life, why you're here, what is your purpose. Find the purpose for your existence. And begin to notice all the beautiful things that you haven't been noticing. The birds singing, the blue sky, the sound of the wind in the trees. Once upon a time when you were a little tiny child, you were very close to, you were closer to God then than you've ever been since. And you lived in God's present reality, and it was beautiful. You fell away from that, so you must rediscover it again. Christ said, unless you become as a little child, you can no ways enter the kingdom of God. You have to become like a little child again. Not fixated to this and fixated to that. And see, free to discover, spontaneous. Some people won't like it because you're a contrast to them with their rigid misery. Other people will like it. They'll see something different about you and they'll like that. Okay? You'll get a whole new set of friends. People who you thought were your friends will fall away. You won't have to do anything. They'll just fall away when they see they can't use you anymore like they used to. But new friends, with time. For a spell you may be alone, wandering through life, taking time to get to know yourself and to get reoriented to this new way of existing in God's light. But then new friends will come along. New friends. More noble friends. Okay? So it's all good. Everything works for good for those who love the Lord. Okay? So I hope you've enjoyed this little video that I made, and see you next time, Lord willing.